Hello. Welcome to Using Courage and Confidence to Turn Challenges into Achievements. My name is Martha Lanier, keynote speaker for women's events, and I'm the guest speaker of today's 20-minute breakout session. Over 40 Females has weekly educational teleseminars that range from fashion to finance to building your business, strengthening your spirituality, and endless other subjects that you can benefit from. If you want to find out more, please go to over40females.com and join as a member. This workshop today is open to the public, but most are only available if you have a membership on over40females.com, which start at less than $17 a month. If at any time during the call you have a question that you'd like for me to answer, please send it by email, and I'll get it back to you as soon as I can. I'm thrilled to be here today because I always enjoy sharing my experiences with other women because, you see, I've walked in many of your shoes. And through these experiences, I've discovered how to have courage and confidence that can turn challenges into achievements. My goal is not to impress you with my stories, not at all, but I use stories to anchor the key points so that they'll be easy for you to remember. Every day, each of us faces challenges, and sometimes we can control them, like, what we're going to eat, how much we're going to exercise, how we plan our day, even how we spend our money. But then there are other things that we can't control, like perhaps losing a job or unexpected expenses that come up. Or how about learning about a serious medical diagnosis of a friend or a family member or even ourselves? You see, I don't believe it's the challenges that are our problems. It's all about our mindset, our attitudes on how we respond that can turn these challenges into achievements. And it all starts with having courage and confidence. Now, you might be thinking, yes, I agree, Martha, but how do you do this? Well, just before my 50th birthday, my daughter Lauren called, and she had just graduated from college and was so excited. And she said, "Oh, Mom, I have planned the coolest thing for the two of us to do to celebrate your birthday. You're going to love it. Mom, we're going skydiving." Well, I guarantee you at 50, that was the last thing I ever would have thought of doing. But do you know what? It absolutely was the most incredible experience I ever had. But before we jumped, I decided to tell a lot of people because I was excited about it, thinking seriously I would do it. And you wouldn't believe what people said. I got opinions. Do you know anyone like that who seems to know what's best for you? Well, I got that, and more people were like, why would you want to do that? What if you break your leg? What this? What that? But I did it anyway. Had a blast. It was the best thing that ever happened to me. I'm not suggesting that you have courage to go skydiving. It worked for me. It totally increased my confidence, and I started comparing everything to it as to, if I can jump out of a perfectly good plane strapped to a man I've known less than 20 minutes, hey, sky's the limit. I can do anything. So be willing to take chances, to stretch your comfort zone. Do something that you typically wouldn't do that you deep down inside perhaps would love to do. But also be aware of the dream killers. These are the negative people who will try to get inside your mind and talk you out of doing things that, guess what, they wouldn't do. Fast forward 10 years. I'm rubbing lotion across my chest one night, and guess what? I feel a lump. And somehow I sort of knew I was going to become a statistic. I had an excisional biopsy, and the report came back as a 0.7 stage 1 infiltrating ductal carcinoma. In simple language, I had breast cancer. Let me pause and say this. Any woman who is diagnosed with having breast cancer can respond in millions of different ways. And you know what? That's okay, because this is one place where we're all different. We're at a different time in our life, and our lifestyles are different. Everything is different, and you can respond however you want to. But for me, I chose to do research, and I decided to have a double mastectomy and major reconstruction. But I did not tell anyone other than my immediate family until after I had selected the hospital and both of my surgical teams, the general surgeon for the mastectomy and a plastic surgeon for the reconstruction. Because you know what? I remembered those dream killers from 10 years earlier from skydiving, and I didn't want to hear about Aunt Mabel who did so-and-so, and I wanted that decision to be mine. So on June 3rd, 2008, I had a double mastectomy and reconstruction. Another thing I chose was part of my recovery is that I would include humor. Because you know what? We all know laughter is the best, medicine. It's great because it causes our body to release endorphins, which are natural painkillers. It's almost impossible to cry and laugh at the same time unless you're having one of those good belly laughs. Friends sent me jokes, books, YouTube links, and I recorded literally hours and hours of America's funniest videos. I chose to laugh through it, and I really think by having the positive attitude and laughing often, it really helped me get through the recovery much easier. But while I was recovering, I kept discovering things that no one had told me about recuperating from a mastectomy and going through the whole breast cancer experience. I had only read 2 books before I was diagnosed, before my surgery, and they were sad, and I just don't do sad. So I decided while I was recuperating, I would collect all of my little notes, and I wrote a book called Pink Lemonade. Now, the difference in it is I took, even though it's informational and good facts in it, I decided to sort of put a twist on it and include all of the humorous things that happened to me through various stages from when I was first diagnosed all the way through till a year later through my recovery. So I had a very good healing time. I also walked a lot. And matter of fact, I walked 30 miles in the Atlanta 2-day walk for breast cancer at 3.5 months post-op. And then at my 6-month checkups, which after you've had breast cancer or any cancer, you have to go to your oncologist, your general surgeon, your plastic surgeon, your internist, all of your doctors every 3 months to be checked. And when I went in January, it was 6 months after my surgery. Each one of them just kept saying, "Oh, my word, Martha, you've had a great recovery. You have healed beautifully. You really are released to do anything that you feel like doing." So I am so excited. I start telling everyone and making phone calls, and I called Lauren back, my skydiving daughter, and said, "Hey, I can do anything." And she said, "Oh, that is awesome." Because I was just talking to Liz, who's my older daughter, and she said, "We found out that the Aflac Iron Girl Triathlon is coming to Atlanta, and it's not going to be far from us, and that would be so cool for the 3 of us to compete in it." I said, "Lauren, that's awesome, except I'm not an athlete. I've never broken a sweat in my life doing any type of physical activity. I like to walk, but that's a far cry from a triathlon." She said, "Don't worry, Mom." She said, "We'll help you train. I promise. We'll work with you on it." So I said, "Well, Lauren, what's involved with this Iron Girl?" She said, "Oh, Mom, it's just a third of a mile swim," which equals to about 24 or 25 lengths of a 25-meter pool. And it's only an 18-mile bike ride. Well, if any of you know North Georgia, it is not flat. And then she says, "We finish up with a little 3-mile run." And I said, "Well, you know what, that's great, but I don't run. I just walk. I'm like a speed walker." She said, "That's okay. That's okay. It'll be fun." Come on, let's all register. This grandmother bought a Speedo, and I bought a brand new bike. And it had been 50 years since I had ridden a bike. And do you know, in those 50 years, they moved the brakes? They used to be on the pedal where you could pedal backward. Not anymore. I learned very quickly that they had moved them to the handlebars. But we trained together. So for almost 6 months, I worked hard on gradually getting ready for the event. And the day of the event, the morning of it, guess what? There were 1,200 women registered. And we all were on the beach or close to the beach at the same time. But you know what was amazing? When you get that many women together, the camaraderie and the high fives and women talking to total strangers, where are you from? Do you have any children? Have you been training? It was wonderful. It was absolutely incredible. I was so excited until I hit the water when it was my turn, and I started swimming and doing every stroke I knew how. And then I decided, maybe I'll just turn over and float on my back and let the draft from the other swimmers pull me along. Well, don't try that because that doesn't work. But I got to speak to everyone as they were swimming by me. And I finally turned over, and I had just gotten to the first buoy. Oh, my goodness, I had so far to go. I gave it everything I had. And when I finally reached the other side, my legs were like spaghetti noodles. And the women next to me were running by me, and it was all I could do to get to the bike. And you know what? I realized that it is so easy when things get difficult for us to want to quit, to just give up and stop. I wanted so badly just to sit down and watch everyone else. I really didn't want to compete anymore. And then I thought about all the work that had gone into it. And I said, okay, I'll go get on my bike and try. And I did. I looked like the Wicked Witch of the West. I just needed a basket for Toto. I didn't have the sleek bike that so many of the women had. And I even had to get off and walk up two of the steepest hills. But you know what? That was okay because there were so many other women walking with me. And again, it gave us a chance to talk and make friends again, and new friends. So I finally finished the bike, and I'm like, okay, the two worst things are over. All I have is the walk left. Well, everybody else the run, but for me the walk. And I started out, and I didn't tell you, but the weather for the previous week and that day was in the high 90s. And the pavement was so hot and the heat reflecting from it. But I walked, and then if it was in the shade and downhill, I'd kick it up a notch and run just a little ways, made me feel good, and then I'd walk again and just really took my time. No pressure to finish. I just wanted to finish and not be the last one of the day. And all of a sudden, I noticed the women in front of me are all peeling off to the right. And I'm like, oh, you know what? I bet that is where the finish line is. So, man, I kicked it up again, gave it everything I had, turned that corner, and there is no finish line. I wanted to sit down and just cry. I didn't know what to do. I had no strength left whatsoever. And I see two people running toward me, and I'm like, oh, it's the paramedics. They're coming to help me. And I looked again, and the officials had let Liz and Lauren on the course to run me across the finish line. Oh, my word, it was so exciting. It's one of the most exciting things I've done. And I realized then that, we are capable of doing so much more than we ever dream we can do. But when we set a goal and we stick to it and almost have tunnel vision, don't let any distractions come. And when we want to quit, don't quit. Search out your positive friends and people, and they'll encourage you. Life is awesome. Man, I'm a breast cancer survivor. I'm an iron girl, and I've written a book, and I'm waiting on Pink Lemonade to be published any day. And at 62, I am in the best physical condition of my life. And the next thing I know, I am in cardiac intensive care. I had no idea what the symptoms were that women experience when they have heart attacks. And I didn't know that there's so many different types of heart attacks. You see, mine started, and see if this doesn't sound familiar, it was very typical of women. I had slight indigestion. I mean, I had eaten my lunch very quickly, and what woman doesn't have indigestion? We eat on the go most of the time. But I kept thinking if I could just burp a little bit, I would feel the release and feel better. That didn't happen. And then I was severely nauseated. But it didn't last long. So I thought, it must have been something wrong with the chicken in that salad I had. And then I got a headache. And I thought, the headache is worrying about, I wonder if I have the flu, if I caught a virus. What is the deal? And then I was tired. But what woman isn't tired with the hectic schedules that we keep this time? My troponins, which are enzymes that stay in your heart, had leaked out, and that happens only when you have damage to your heart. And they had done a blood test at the hospital and found out that my troponins had spiked, and that showed that I did have damage. I was in cardiac intensive care for a couple of days, and I was just so worried about that it could happen because, see, it wasn't a Hollywood heart attack. People rarely have the Hollywood heart attack, which is where you have the stabbing pain and the jaw pain or pain in your back and your left arm is numb, and then people keel over and die. That does happen, but not all the time. Women very typically can have exactly the same symptoms I had. And I remember lying in intensive care late one night, and I started thinking about my grandchildren. I had 7 at the time. I have 8 now. The number 8 had not been born yet, but I started thinking about them, and I had promised each and every one of them that I would dance at their weddings. And all of a sudden now, if I had, and I had 2 episodes a couple of days apart, and although if I had 2 heart attacks and didn't know I had them, good grief, I could have the big one and die, and I wouldn't be around for these little children. And it made me really reevaluate my life and my stress. My diagnosis, you want to know what it was? I was diagnosed with stress cardiomyopathy. Physically, I was in the best physical condition of my life. Mentally, I was a mess. I had let my stress that I kept internally get totally out of control. I asked my cardiologist if it was due to the Iron Girl, and he said, no, as a matter of fact, I have never seen a patient your age with a heart as strong as yours. He said, I really think that helped you survive. He said, you're going to be fine with some rest, but, man, you got to promise you're going to keep that stress under control. So I did. I now measure things in life and death. If it isn't going to kill me or someone else, then I plain don't worry about it. You see, as women, we feel that we're invincible. But just because we can do everything doesn't mean that we have to. When we make ourselves our number one priority, guess what? We increase the value we have to everyone else. They're not getting leftovers. We're not a leftover. We can share that value and also set a great example. In closing, I want to say, you may not want to go skydiving or even compete in a triathlon, and that's okay. But what are some of the challenges that you're facing today? Is it professionally? Do you have a career that you love, or do you just have a job? Financially, are you living with a lot of debt, or do you have a secure plan in place for your future? Personally, do you take care of everyone else's needs before your own? Our challenges may be different, but the key is being responsible for your thoughts, for your actions, and for your results. It's so easy to blame other people and circumstances, but take ownership. Be willing to take risk and stretch your comfort zone. I promise you'll never go back to like you were before. Include humor in your life and find something to laugh about every single day. And I recommend a belly laugh at least once a week. Surround yourself with positive and supportive people and make a commitment that you will focus on your goals, not other people's, your goals, and never, ever quit. Maintain a healthy lifestyle by eating healthy foods and exercising regularly. Believe in yourself and what is possible. If you'd like to visit my website, you can sign up for a newsletter and learn more frequent tips on how to have courage and confidence. I wish each and every one of you a life filled with joy, success, good health, and happiness. And don't forget, go to over40females.com. That's over40females.com to find out more information about membership. And again, I thank you so much for sharing your time with me and with Over 40 Females today to use courage and confidence to turn your challenges into achievements. Have a fabulous day.